All right, this is going to have to be sort of a speedier type video because we are running out of daylight. How to R&R, remove and install, and hopefully do the swap over of parts. Sunroof track, 2014 and down F-150. Most of this will also apply for a 250 or up Super Duty truck. They are only slightly different, but it's almost identical. Expedition's a little different because the headliner's different. Taking the track in and out is the same. All right, so here's what I use. Here's what we need. We're going to need a 45-degree pick. You can do what I do with that with something else, but that's what I use. 13mm socket. Torx number 50. 15mm socket. Phillips number 2. 8mm wrench. Torx number 20. May need this to turn this, might not. I usually have it on standby. I use impact drills in the interest of speed, and I also use this 90-degree one just because they're handy. You don't have to have them. You could literally do it all by hand if you wanted to. This other drill is, I honestly just use them because I have them. But that's what you need. All you need to do this. We're going to take this out. This here is a 2013, I believe, F-150. I have just rebuilt this sunroof track. This is a spare sunroof track I have. I generally don't rebuild the one that actually comes out of the truck. I'd usually have accumulated a couple of them, and I usually just build them and then go out in the interest of time. And this is exactly what we're doing today. This process would be exactly the same if you had a brand new track out of the box from Ford and you were going to do it. There's no difference. It just happens that I have rebuilt this track, and this is a rebuilt track instead of a new one, but there's literally no difference. So I'm going to be back in the truck in a second. All right, so what you got is 2 Phillips right here, 1 Phillips right there. Same thing with the other visor. There's 2 Phillips behind this. So how you're going to take this off, this overhead console, you got to get your hand up in here. I don't know if I can do it while I'm holding the phone, but let me pause for a second. Yep. All right, so got somebody else hold the phone. You got to get your hand in here. You may have a little plastic prying tool, but don't pry the front, pry the back. And there it came loose. See these clips right here? They are tight. All right. There's your, let's get the light. There's your screws. They're Phillips. They're shorter than these other ones, so you almost no way you're going to get them mixed up. You could let this dangle. I don't. I pull it off, unplug it, just put it in a safe spot, which is this in this case would be just up here at the okay. Remove it, just put it up here on the console. So 3 Phillips, 2 Phillips, 3 Phillips over there. We'll come back with it down. Let's get our tool. Let me know. Go. All right, Torx number 20s. Hold the glass in. 1, 2, and then the other 2, and then you just lift it out. Go set it somewhere very safe. And remember that these right here, you don't want to set them on metal because they will scratch it. When you get your visors down, there's a little tab right there that you press to, it'll be self-explanatory when you see it. But I use my thumb, but I mean, it just depends on your thumb strength and your fingernails and everything. You may need a little pick or a pocket screwdriver or something, but a little tip. Also, take your wire loose from your center mirror because we are going to pop the headliner down, and we don't want it hanging and tugging on that wire and tearing anything up. Rear coat hooks. You can see this little slot right here. All right, this is a little door that pops down. This is why I have a 45-degree pick. You could use a pocket screwdriver, but you can come in from the side, pop the little door open, and there's a Phillips screw behind it. Do not be 100% shocked if it happens to be a Torx number 20, because I have seen those. There's usually a Phillips though. So we take that loose and put it in the cup holder. Back of the cab, these 2 clips, they're push clips. I call them Christmas tree clips. They're fairly long. Reach your hand up in here to them, pull them loose. Oh, there it went. And There. Put them in the cup holder. At this point, the headliner is completely loose. The only thing holding it up now is the fact that it sits, it literally just sits on top of this molding. This is the C pillar. There's the B pillar. It's not attached there in any way. It's just literally just resting there. The only thing that's really holding it up is our really strong magnets around the opening. Here's where I differ from maybe some people. You could take all these pillars off, A pillar, B pillar, C pillar, and then drop the headliner that way. I don't do that because I found out that these headliners have a fiberglass backing, and you can literally bend this thing in half and it'll snap right back anywhere back here in the back. And I found that sort of out by accident, by accidentally having one left in a bind that I didn't notice, and I took it out of the bind and it just snapped right back. And so what I do, instead of taking all these pillars down, I literally just grab it and pull it loose. Look at that. And over here, just pull it loose. And when you go to put it back together, you literally just bend it and pop it back up there. And you can do that all the way here, all the way here. You can do it right here. It pops out. Okay, for the front now, the B pillar and the C pillar are loose, and we're concentrating on one side. All right, we're gonna reach our hand up in here and pull. This one does not have the magnets. This actually has Velcro, so that's not cool, but that's what it has. Most of them, the newer ones, have magnets. And look at this. We're gonna bend this. Boom. Now the headliner is loose. All right. All right, so it's loose over here. To get it off the other ones, you just literally just tug it and it's loose. So now it's hanging. And what do you have? We have 4 drain tubes, one of them which we just pull loose. We have this bracket right here. It's got an 8mm there. It's got 2 8mm on the top. Disconnect the 8mm there. Take the wrench. That's the only thing the wrench is for. Loosen those 2, screw them out, slide the bracket off, get it out of the way. You can take this sunroof out with that bracket on there, and I have done that, but I don't like to because it gets mighty close to the seat over here, and that's sharp metal, and I just really don't want to buy somebody a seat cover. We're going to unplug the plug there for the motor, and you see that little clip where it clips it to the back of the track. Put your fingers on either side of that and work that off of there. Don't be surprised if the little loop that it plugs into, the little hole, breaks off, because they do get brittle up here in this very hot environment. It doesn't have to have it. If it breaks off, don't worry about it. You don't even have to wire tie it back up there. Just let it hang in the headliner. But I do try to put them back like it came, if I can. Up here in the front, we got another drain tube right here. You pull this loose. And that's about it as far as like things you got to detach from the sunroof. The next thing you do is it's got, this is not the next thing we're going to do here, but it's got these 8mm all the way around it, right? You take all of them out, and then it still won't come out because this big support bracket, this is a stiffening bracket, has 2 13mm in it, as you can see. So you can take all the 8mm out, and this thing's still in here. So you take all your 8mm out, you've got your bracket off, you've got your motor unplugged, you got your drain tubes loose. All right, the next step is we need to remove this passenger seat. How do we do this? Well, we're gonna lift this up and off. It goes up, over, and it's got these 2 little clips right here. And this, run the seat down because this won't be accessible, but we're going to take this Torx number 50 loose and let the seat belt dangle. And also unplug this and slide this off this plug. When you pull this headliner down, this foam piece right here, these things have got to be some kind of petroleum-based product. This thing right here is just gummy as all get out. And if it falls anywhere, if you grab a hold of it, it will get all over you, and it is just nasty. Discard it very gently because this stuff just gets gooey almost. They'll probably fall out when you drop the headliner, but if they don't, just go ahead and take them off and discard them. It doesn't need them, and they're obviously not doing anything anymore anyway because they're all shrunken up. But literally, you could ball it up into a ball, and it would just be a gummy ball. They are nasty. Anyway, just so you know, if you see these things, don't be grabbing them real tight because then you're going to be washing your hands for a while. To get the seat out, it's got 15mm bolts all around. You got to leave it plugged in so you can run the seat back and then forward in order to access the bolts. So 15's in the front. I usually just run the seat all the way back and zip them out first. Don't be surprised if these are really hard to remove. As a matter of fact, that just shocked me how easily those came out. That usually is not the case because they stick all the way through the floor and they're usually corroded. Usually, sometimes, this is why I have the ratchet and socket. Sometimes I have to use that, and sometimes maybe even a pull bar to get them started because my impact will not turn them. But in this case, I got lucky. So anyway, front 15's out. Now we're going to slide the seat all the way forward. Rear 15mm. I think I said the only thing I needed the 45-degree pick for was the coat hooks. I lied. You can use a pocket knife or anything. Just pop these little things up, and there's your 15mm. Same process. Remove them. Tilt the rear seat up. This right here, you push in, can't really see it that good. You push down on the little clip right there, and then this piece kind of swivels this way. So then it will just basically feed the connector out of there. So there, I just got it, and it just goes like this, and then this pops out. And now your seat is completely disconnected and you can lift it out. When you do go to lift it out, shut the other door. I work on these things with all the doors open generally, but when I take this seat out, there's no point in having this door open, and you've got that much less room to bring it out. So take the seat out, go set it somewhere safe. Don't forget to take your Phillips out from up here. This bracket has got to come down or the sunroof won't come out. This particular model had this other sensor or whatever it is up here. I went ahead and popped this little cover off and unplugged this because I did not want this. This wire was wanting to dangle from there, and I don't think that's a good idea. So take that loose if you have one. If you don't have that option, don't worry about it. All right, everything's loose except for the 13mm right there. Why did we leave those in? Well, first of all, I didn't want this track dangling down on top of the headliner. All right, the headliner just sits right on top of the rear seats and the remaining driver's seat and the steering wheel. So you're going to want to tilt it like this, and what's going to happen is I'm going to drop the 13mm over there first and let it sit on top of the headliner, which is the headrest is right there. So it's going to be a fairly decent support. Then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to take these two loose, and when the second one comes loose, it's going to fall down. Well, it's not just going to fall, I'm going to let it come down. It's going to stand up right here, and sometimes you got to jimmy the headliner back over. It's going to stand up right here, and it's going to come out right out this door. That's why we don't have to take out the whole interior. So hopefully I'm going to get that on film. Let me get to that point. 13mm are loose over there. It's dangling. All right, we got enough room here. Let me tell you another thing. When you get this track standing in here, don't brush it across this trim molding here, because it'll scratch it. Just be careful. It helps to have, I can do this by myself because I've done so many of them, like literally hundreds. But you know, if this is the only one you're ever going to do, get somebody to help you, and get somebody to hold the headliner over there out of the way and kind of push down on it, and you know, while you feed your track out, maybe get a couple of somebody. So my next step is I'm going to take these off, and we're going to drop this track down. Ready, go. All right, last 13mm coming off, and the track's going to drop. I'm sure that wasn't loud on camera at all. Track is dropping. You be nice and easy with it. Going down here. You stand it up just like I said, being careful not to hit this molding. All right, here it is standing here just like I told you it would be. You don't want to hit that molding. I've got the seat up. You actually, the seat doesn't have to be up, but if your seat flips up, it makes you a little more room. This comes right on out of here. grab it, and there it is. Your track's, other than me setting it on the ground, it's out. Next step will be the changeover of parts. Track is on the ground. What we're going to do now is swap over the parts. Motor, shade, and the rear drain or trough. Drain's easy. Phillips, same over there. It rotates up like this, and it's got a little thing that locks it in, up and out. That's easy. You can't get the shade out until you get that off. Motor, also easy. 3 Torx number 25s, set it to the side. That's the first thing I'm gonna do. Down here. All right, to get the shade out, we've got the trough off, we've got the motor out. It's got these little feet right here that have little plastic, they may actually be Teflon little slides that just literally just press onto the shade. The only way to get this off that I've ever seen is you got to bend it a little bit. You got to remember these things probably might be a little brittle. So what you want to do is anchor the bottom, maybe have somebody put their foot up against it. You got to get right here in the middle of it and kind of bend it. Now right here, when you see this, that's all it takes. There's your little Teflon or plastic slide thingy. All right, this middle piece is just a fabric. All right, and then we've still got a plastic thing there and 2 down there, the same stuff over there. But right now we've got this off, so we're gonna just rotate it back off and show the whole thing. We're just gonna rotate it out. Look at this, rotate out, boom. All right, you just reverse it. You see you got these little plastic things, right? You do not want to lose these. All right, we're gonna stick it down there at the bottom in its slot. We're going to get this one up here in its slot. We're going to rotate. Now everything is in except for the middle one. We're again going to bend it a little bit, pop that in, and for this front one, we're going to get right in the middle. We're going to bend it and pop that in. Look at that. There it's in. All right. Now, trough hooks right in here to this. Lays down right there. There's the hole. This is essentially going to be a self-tapping deal. You just don't squeeze this trigger or do it by hand if you're not confident. That's in there. Get them both in and you're good. All right. Shade is in. Trough is in. Next up, the motor. All right, here's your motor. Here's your Torx number 25. This is where these magnet things really come in handy. And what I do, if you'll notice, these things are brass nutserts. You do not want to cross thread one of these, so I just gently start that. And I should have had my fingers. Gently start all 3 of them before you tighten them down. Don't just run one down, because you also want it to go down evenly. It's not all that critical, but it just makes life much easier. So all right, that one started, so now I'm gonna run it. Don't wind it up. Just nice little gentle trigger pull, or if you're not confident with that, use your hand. Okay, this track is swapped over, built, whatever you want to call it, and it's ready to go back in the truck. All right, so here we're standing here in the right rear door opening with the new track or the freshly rebuilt track, depending on whether you rebuilt yours or bought a new one. We're going to go back in just like we came out. So we're going to lift it, get help. All right, it's here. Get help, have somebody move the headliner out of the way so you can slide it up in there. Then we're going to go up on top of the headliner. And what I know, since I'm usually over on this side anyway, I start the 13 millimeters on this side, but let's get it right about there. All right, I had to get somebody to help me with the headliner there while I was filming. The track is sitting up here in the door opening right now, and it is ready to basically go up on top of that headliner and be attached. Let me tell you one other thing, and I said it in another video. You've got these little hose barbs right here. They're fairly protected on the back, but the ones on the front are not. Do not skid when you're turning this track over to do the motor and the shade and all that. Do not skid one of those across the pavement, because if it snaps off, you're in trouble. You'll probably really need a new track, so just be careful with those. All right, so we're about to go up here, and you can lean this across the headliner and just scoot it up there. So let me see if I can get some filming help, and we're gonna try that. All right, let's see here. All right, up and over the headliner. And now it's sitting in here, and I'm gonna start the 13 millimeter. 13 millimeter started, still hanging out, resting over there. Gonna go start the other 13 millimeters. I do want to mention, up here in the front, on both sides, the frontward most 8 millimeter, if you see that little round circle behind it, I think you can see it, this little round circle in the track, that is a guide pin up here, and it goes in that slot right there. See that slot right behind the hole? It has to go in that slot. There's a little wiggle room, but it's got to go in there. That's what aligns the sunroof track in the truck. It is possible to bolt the thing down without them being aligned. And if you get to where you got them all tightened down and realize that it's not sitting in there right, you will be unhappy. So make sure that pin goes in there. When it does, this metal will be flush against the roof right here. You'll know it, because if it's sitting off like this, it's not in. If it's in here like this, where the hole is like right there through the larger hole where the threads are, it's in. Just make sure that's there. I very highly suggest you just start them all first before you start tightening them. Another little tip. This bracket right here, it's got a speed nut on it. The 8 millimeter goes through there. This sunroof can, when you're putting it in, it can creep up on top of this, which is no bueno. You want it under here. So before you start tightening everything, make sure, because the nut's got to go through this, the bolt's got to go through here into those threads and then tighten down. If this is up on top of here, that's not going to get it. So make sure it's below that. I've done that more than once, and it's not a good day, because then you got to take everything else loose and get it loose. Anyway, another little tip, learn from my mistakes. Another little tip, your drain tubes, before you plug these back up, blow in them. Make sure they're not stopped up. You'll never have a easier chance to do it than this. Just go ahead and blow through them and make sure you don't have a water leak. You may not have a water leak, and this will help you not have one. All right, track is completely bolted up. All 4 drain tubes hooked up, blown through and hooked up. The brackets back up. All those 8 millimeters are tightened. The 13 millimeters are tightened. All any wires are hooked back up. We're ready to put the headliner back up. Now what we're going to do in a nutshell here, we're going to, you see the top of that molding right there, and the flat place, the top of the A pillar, and of course the C pillar down there. We're going to just tuck the headliner up over there and kind of scoot it. That's the driver's side of the truck. Just scoot it that way. And then we're going to bring it up over on this side, on the passenger side, and just kind of bend this a little bit and pop it right back up over top of the molding, just like you saw us take it out. I do find that if you put the headliner back up there and put those push clips in first, it sort of aligns it a little bit, helps you do the rest of it. Headliner's up. Like I told you, you just push this up over there. Look at that. Now it does help sometimes to pull these get these weather strips off and then pop them up there. But it's all up, headliner's all up. We've got to put the coat hooks, we got to put the visors, we got to put those 2 Phillips screws and the center overhead console back in. That overhead console is a little tricky. You'd put the front in and then pop it up. It might take you a couple of times. Obviously got to put the glass back in. That's just 4 screws. Oh yeah, the seat. That might be important. That's pretty straightforward, so I'm not going to film doing that. Thing I want to tell you, It matters for putting it back together, not so much for taking it apart. You see that speed nut behind there? This part right here. Let's see, yeah, there we go, right there. That's where the screw goes. These screws will go in like right there, and these, you see this moves back and forth. It'll go in up here, and it'll sort of tighten, but then it won't be lined up, and it's just a pain. So what I like to do is, the drill I have has like a little LED light on it that's like a guide light, so I like to make sure that this thing, that I can see that speed nut right through that hole, and then tighten that one down, and then the other one will pretty much automatically line up. But that thing can cause you, because if it's not on there right, then your overhead console won't click it back in here. It won't be lined up correctly. So you got to have those in those holes. So there's another little one you can learn from me in my trials and tribulations. Another tidbit: when you're about to put this up here, all right, you obviously have these clips. They go in these slots, but they're only what holds it up in the back. The only thing that holds it in the front is these. They're just basically, they don't move, they don't snap. Literally, this little ledge right here just sits over top of these. If you do not have this little ledge right here sitting up over top of this, it'll hang down in the front a little bit. So you have to kind of push it like this, like tilted, and push up on it before you snap these ones in the back. And even though you do that, it still might not be right. So I popped it up there. You got to be real careful because you got to bump this right here, but you do not want to hit this door, because you'll break this door, and then you need a whole overhead console, and they're not cheap. This one, a lot of times they'll hang down right here. This one hooked. So if you hook it first and keep it pushed forward and then snap these up, that's the ticket. All right, the only thing we have left to do is we got to put the glass in. We got to put the visor in. I've already hooked up the, don't forget to hook up your wires. If you have this sensor up here, hook that up. I already hooked it up and put the cover back over it. Put the one on the mirror. Most of them just have the mirror. Most of them don't have this, but some of them do. And then program it. Little tip with the programming. Because I have put this thing in vent position, this is the way I built this sunroof track, or rebuilt it. You can't adjust it yet because it's tilted or vented. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the glass in, and I'm just going to start the screws, but I'm not going to tighten them. And I'm going to adjust it, I'm going to program it with the glass loose. That's perfectly fine. Program it, get it to where it operates, and then do your final adjustment and get it flush with the roof. I have videos for how to program it, and I believe I have a video on how to adjust one too. I will link in the description. Let me get that done. We'll do a final synopsis. All right, here's another little quick tip. When you go to screw this on here, sometimes this opening will not line up with the inner square there or whatever. So here's what you do. Here's a little tip. Pull this away, put that on there, start it. Actually, you can just go ahead and start it. Okay, start it right there, right? Start the screw. Now pull the headliner to it, right there, and then walk it right on there. That way it won't be trying to not sit flush or anything. And just shut your little door. All right, one more little pro tip. You see this is where the screw goes right here. And you can see this is kind of coned here. It fits right in to this. It's kind of a keyed fit, if you want to call it that, or like a puzzle piece. Sometimes when you put them up there, they will not line up. The best thing to do, I've found with these, is to run that end of the screw there, start it right there, and you can feel when it goes on there, because if it's not fitting precisely into its little, all its little parts fitting together like the little puzzle piece that it basically is, it'll be like wanting to cock one way or another, or it won't be wanting to fit flush. Now that's fitting flush, and now the other one will be easy to put on because it will be lined up, and then you can go ahead and put it right on, and see, that's just way easier. And I've had these things, these will also kind of go off center and screw into the plastic where they're not supposed to really be doing, and then it messes up the rest of the fit, and it doesn't, and you got to take it back apart, and it's just a little aggravating. And for this one, now we took this off and left this on here, and you can put this back up here, but with it still attached to the visor, but I just take them off. It just seems to be a little easier. And go ahead and start this in here, and then you can see it's got a guide pin which goes right there. And so now again, these things will slide back and forth, so you want to make sure it's not, if it's slid all this way, the guide pin won't go in, and it'll actually hold it away from it. So we'll put that in the actual threaded part, if you want to call that threaded, and maybe I can fumble around with it for a little longer while you guys are trying to wonder what I'm doing here. And there we go. And then it goes right on there. So, okay, so make sure they're tight, and then, all right, at that point my phone died, and here I am months and months and months later, just now realizing that I never completed this video. So anyway, about all that was left to do was initialize it, adjust the glass, and just give it a final wipe down and inspection like I always do whenever I work on one. So if you got any questions or comments, let me know. I will of course link the initialization and the sunroof glass adjustment video, and along with obviously the how to rebuild the track video. Now if you're just buying a new track, you won't need the one on rebuilding. You can just use this one on how to take the old track out and put your new one in. Otherwise, you want to use this one for removing the track, and then the rebuild one for rebuilding, and then the rest of this one for putting it back in. Anyway, questions, comments, let me know, and hope it helps somebody. Thanks.